Hi again, everybody. My name is Greg Anderson, and this is the Good Timekeeping Show with Greg Anderson. Some folks said they wanted me to do some reviews of some of my vintage watches. I don't think you can buy these anymore. Maybe you find them on eBay. But in the meantime, yeah, I can talk about this one, but I need to give you a little bit of background on this one. This is my very first Casio Wave Scepter watch, which I bought probably sometime around the year 2000, give or take a year. Can't remember exactly when I got it. What happened was in November of 1995, I got my very first Junghans Mega Clock. It was the first radio-controlled clock I ever bought. And it was great. So no longer did I need to listen to WWV on the shortwave radio to receive, the correct time. I could just look at my Junghans Mega Clock and set all my watches by that clock. And I remember at the time thinking, I wish that I could get, a watch that also would receive the radio-controlled, clock, atomic time information and set itself to the right time. But I didn't have a lot of options there at first. Junghans made a Mega watch, and it did what it was supposed to do. It picked up the time and set itself, but it had no other functions or features. It didn't have alarms or stopwatches or things you'd want on a watch, and it cost about $1,000 at that time. So I just thought, yeah, I can't really justify that expense. So eventually, within a couple of years, I found this one. The Archron Sight Sports Watch is what they called it. So this one, yeah, does have a radio receiver in it to set itself to the right time, and it tries every night at, I think, 1 a.m. is when it tries to set itself. And I thought, well, okay. I bought it was like $99, which to me was a bargain at the time. But when I got it, it's very lightweight, and it kind of looks and feels cheap. and all this writing on the face of the watch, I think, makes it look the face too busy. And these dividers between the different lines on the readout kind of make it a little bit more difficult to see things. So this was not my favorite watch, but I did have to hand it to him. It cost less than $1,000, and it did set itself to the right time. And I remember thinking, okay, I'll use this because I like atomic time, but I would be more happy if a company like Casio made a clock that could set itself to the right time, to atomic time, a radio-controlled atomic watch, if you will. And so then within a year or two, that's when I found this one from Casio. So this Casio Wave Scepter, again, my first radio-controlled watch from Casio. And in a lot of ways, okay, it felt more substantial than the Archron Sight model. It was 50 meters water resistant. So a lot of things about this were exactly what I would have expected from Casio. A better looking watch, more sturdy, and just all around, it seemed like a better watch when Casio finally got into the radio-controlled watch business. But what I found out soon after I got this one is that all of the functions and features, aside from just the different shape, different colors and all that, it operated the same way as this one here. It's almost as though Casio just licensed the design for the electronics on this one and made their own based on exactly the same electronics. Now, we've come a long way since then, and of course Casio, with their G-Shock models and all their Wave Scepter models, do definitely have a lot more functions and features than this original watch. But at the time, I thought this was a big upgrade for me. Getting what I wanted, atomic time, automatic reception, automatically setting itself, and a better looking watch and a better all-around watch than the Archron Sight model. But as you can see, they both still work, and look at how synchronized they still are. So not bad. So let's talk about this one for a little bit. And look what I found. An original Wave Scepter stand, display stand from the store for a Casio Wave Scepter watch. And look at this. This is the original instruction booklet. It doesn't have to be quite this thick because it's got multiple languages in here. But for the English portion of it, just about that much of the book tells me everything I need to know. And I remember most of what's in here as far as functions and features and setup and everything. But it's kind of fun to know that I still have the original packaging material from when I got this. So, all right, what can you see here? First of all, I apologize my lighting here because a lot of reflections on here. It's a domed crystal, and so it picks up all the reflections off my lighting. Because it's a domed crystal like that, it's going to be, kind of susceptible to scratching and scuff marks and things like that on it. I found that Polywatch works pretty well to polish those out. So, if you got an old one and you want to just kind of address those scratches a little bit. You can use some Polywatch. Also, you know, I guess I've kind of scraped up parts of the bezel here. So this watch has seen better days, but since I've had it for about 20 years now, I think it's holding up pretty well. And of course, all the functions still work. So this is a good watch. I'm glad I still have it. All right, so let's have a good look at this one right now. There are 5 buttons around the face of the watch here. 3 over on this side and 2 over on this side here. This one in the middle is actually just kind of decoration to balance the look. But that is not a button that you can actually press right there in the middle. But there's your mode button down there. So right now it's in the regular timekeeping mode. And here you can see a lot of information on the screen. So for example, you can see right there M for the Mountain Time Zone. And that's a battery indicator that shows you the battery is good. If that were blinking or flashing, then that would tell you it's time to change the battery. Right there, kind of a little radio antenna, satellite antenna type of icon there. And that shows you that this watch was able to receive the time data within the last day or two. So that's the top line. Then, of course, here, day of the week and the month. You know, month and date there, and then this is the seconds counter, you know, your PM indicator, and there's your current time in nice big numbers. You know, compare the size of those numbers with the size of the numbers over here, and it's, you know, it's a it's a much larger display on the numbers for the hours and minutes. So that's kind of nice. Now, if I go here to change modes, okay, then this is my alarm mode. So right now it's telling me alarm set for 8 a.m. and alarm is off, but I can change that by holding this button, middle button on the right side. Now this times out after just a few seconds, so I got to be prompt about this. So now I'll hold this button and things will begin to flash. First of all, now I'm setting the alarm. It's going to say on, and there's a little icon right there showing me the alarm is active. And then this is where I can set the alarm. Now it's just going to scroll through backward or forward using these buttons here. And so at first, you know, it's just going to be 1 minute at a time, a little bit slower. But as soon as I get to the top or bottom of an hour, then it's going to go by you know, 10 minutes at a time and get you a little bit faster there. But of course, if you want to go for, you know, several hours to adjust the time, you're going to have to hold the buttons down for a long time in order to scroll all the way through. So that's just a little quirk of that. But I'm going to go ahead and get this back to the original setting of 8 a.m. here just a moment. And, oh, too far. So now I'm going to go back 1 minute at a time, 8 o'clock. So, okay, that's how you set the alarm. And then, of course, once I get it to stop blinking, I can use, let's see, is it that button? No, it's this button here to on the bottom, on the right side, to select on or off for the alarm setting. Okay, next mode. This is your date alarm. So to me, this is not the most useful feature here, but it might be useful for some. What it'll do is it'll flash a little icon to warn you that it's the date that you've set it to. So right now, by default, it's Christmas Eve. But I'll go ahead and adjust this ahead until it's today's date. And you can see what it will do when it's trying to alert me that it is, you know, we've got the date that I've set the alarm for. So, okay, there I go. So now that I've set it to the current date, it's going to do that all day long. It's going to flash the word today when you reach the date that you've set it to. And so again, I don't know exactly how useful that is, but at least it's there if you need it. You know, you don't want to miss your anniversary or some other special occasion. It'll flash today, whatever that is. All right, so the next mode here is, this is the mode where you can set it. So when it's on the screen here, it's showing you that right now I'm in the Mountain Time Zone, and that's 7 hours behind UTC. I got to go back to that because it timed out. And so if I want to set to a different time zone, I hold this adjust button in the middle, and now that's flashing. So I can go, you know, back to some other time zone and kind of go all around the world to a certain number of hours ahead of or behind UTC. So this wouldn't work with those time zones that are kind of in between, you know, only a half an hour, a certain number of hours plus a half, or a certain number of hours plus 15 minutes or minus 15 minutes. There are some of those, you know, say uncommon time zones out there. And this one will only give you hours that are, whole hours more or less than UTC to set the time there. But I'm gonna set this back again to where I am, which is going to be 7 hours behind UTC. Once you get into like 8 hours behind, then it's got a P for Pacific time, M for Mountain time, C for Central time, and E for Eastern time, because this watch is designed for use in the continental United States and those areas where you observe Pacific, Mountain, Central, and Eastern time. So that's what that's doing right there. And then if I hit the mode button while that's still flashing, I can select daylight saving time to either be on or off. And this will adjust automatically as well throughout the year as it receives its information from WWV. But right now, daylight saving off, and that's what I want it to be because that's correct for this time of year right now. But I could manually set that ahead, and there'll be a little DST symbol there that will remain on the screen throughout the time that it's actually showing you daylight saving time. But again, the correct setting right now is off. Okay, and okay, those are all the settings there. My next mode then is the stopwatch mode. And look at that, I started the stopwatch a while ago. So let me just, you can start and stop the stopwatch with, it's actually this button up here, and press this button to reset. All right, so it's very similar to the stopwatch you'd find on a lot of other digital watches. So you start out at all zeros, use this one up here, this button to start and stop it, use this one down here to get your lap time or split time. And then, of course, when you stop it, use this same button down here to reset it. Pretty straightforward. This will actually, you see it's got hours, minutes, seconds, and hundredths of a second. And it will continue going if you leave it going. It'll go up to 100 hours. So once it reaches 100 hours on the nose, it'll make a small and just a little beep, and it will stop. So sometimes I do that just to entertain myself. I'll start a stopwatch and then just leave it going, and it takes a little more than 4 days to reach 100 hours. And I hear a little beep, and then it stops itself. And so those are the main functions and features of this watch. There it is. Let me show you. I replaced the original watch band because, well, I had the experience with a lot of my Casio watches from back then, especially right around here, the place where you would buckle it the most, where it got bent back and forth like that the most and put the most stress on it, you'd see a little crack would form, and eventually the watch band would fail. And that's what happened to the original watch band on this. So I replaced it with a silicone watch band that I kind of modified to make sure it would fit, because you have these narrow spring bars in there, and then the watch band kind of goes out a ways to the case. So again, this is not standard equipment watch band on this one. The original one, it was more, you didn't have this little gap right there. It was made to tie into the case better than this. And so this is my attempt to get by with something else. I found one place online just recently that claimed to have the original equipment watch band if I wanted to replace what I've put on here with the original equipment, but I really think the original equipment one would fail again. So I kind of like having this very flexible silicone one that I think is going to last pretty well. It's all dirty, sorry about that. But again, it doesn't line up with the case and look quite as nice from this angle as the original did. But it's not bad, and I like this. And I use this. This is, again, by now it's kind of a good beater watch, but I try to be careful with it because it is susceptible to scratching with that domed soft material on the crystal. About the only other thing, well, let me just show you quickly. Okay, so this will try to set itself at 1 o'clock every night, so reception is better overnight for the radio control function. But if you want to manually tell it to try to receive WWVB and set itself, you just, from this normal timekeeping mode, hold this button down here on the right side, and then, okay, there it goes. You see the receiver icon is flashing, and so that'll go for, anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes to see if it can set itself successfully. But that's the way that you would initiate your manual time reception. If you don't have successful reception of the atomic time and date information, then what you can do from here is you can hold this button down on the right side. And it will get you in, things will start blinking and it'll get you into a manual setting mode so you can manually set the time and the date. But here's something interesting about it. If it has been successful at setting itself within the last, I don't know, I think it's even 3 days, then it will lock you out. It won't allow you to manually set the time and date if it said, no, I did that myself. Just yesterday or the day before. So if you wait, if it's unsuccessful receiving its time information for, let's say, 4 days, then by holding this button down from the normal timekeeping mode, you can get into the manual setting. So anyway, that's kind of fun. The only other thing on here really is the backlight feature. And it's kind of an interesting feature here because instead of lighting up the background, it actually lights up the characters on screen. So let me show you that. All right, so this isn't the best representation of what it looks like in the dark, but you can see here if I push the light button, see how it lights up the characters instead of the background. So that's a neat effect. It's almost like they've taken the concept of the reverse LCD that they have in a lot of their watches, but rather than having a dark display with the lighter characters on it, it's still a lighter background on the display, but it's kind of fun to have the characters light up with the backlight instead of the background. Okay, that's fun. And with that, well, really, that's all there is to say about this watch. It uses a regular lithium battery. It'll run for about 1.5 years or so. I've had, I've good experience with this. I just happen to, over the years, I've purchased some, more up-to-date watches and some G-Shocks and some things, and the solar-powered watches and all those other things I enjoy from Casio. So this one, I don't wear it quite as often as I used to. It's not the fanciest watch that I have, but there was a time when this was the most advanced watch in my collection, and certainly was a better-looking watch than this one. I'm sorry, Archron site, but Casio just made a better looking watch using your same functions. Just kind of a classic wave scepter, but generally speaking, I would recommend just get a new one. They don't cost that much. Get a new wave scepter. But if you find this one lying around, find one at a garage sale, give it a new battery and see what happens. And until then, I will, I'll plan to make another episode soon of The Good Timekeeping Show.